cycle, the fifth. I sound like one of those crystal girls, you know. This crystal protects me, except when the planet Venus moves in retrograde and my inner Aphrodite takes over. If any of my followers are actually crystal girls, sorry.
I will not apologize for who I am. I will not apologize for what I need.
So, fifth world, according to the Aztecs and their origin myth, that is where we live right now. But let me start in the beginning of that origin, which starts like any other mythology, really. Some lonely dude was floating around in space and milking his beanstalk busted his nut into the nothingness around him, and thus the world was somehow born out of that nut. Except in Aztec mythology, that first being was not a lonely dude, not milking a beanstalk, but rather actually flicking the bean, because this first being had both sexes, so he was doing all the bean stuff, and his, her, its, their name was Huītzilōpōchtli, and he, she, it, they did non-binary before it was cool, and this god of duality flicked and milked away until he, she, it, they gave birth to 4 children, each representing a cardinal direction, and each with a name that just rolls off the tongue. Huītzilōpōchtli, the god of war, representing the south. Totec, the god of gold, farming, and spring in the east. Quetzalcoatl, the god of light, mercy, and wind, repping for the west side. West side! And Huītzilōpōchtli, the god of earth, judgment, night, the seed, sorcery, conflict, and Jaguars. Guess which one is the bad guy?
I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
Oh, and he was
the king of the north!
At the time, there was no earth yet, just the gods, endless water, and the giant crocodile, Huītzilōpōchtli, roaming that endless water. So one day, the brothers Quetzalcoatl and Huītzilōpōchtli felt like it was time to switch things up in this nothingness surrounded by water that they called home, and they captured the giant crocodile, Huītzilōpōchtli, and stretched it out to create the earth from its body. If you're a true mythology nerd, this should sound very similar to Odin killing the giant Ymir to create the earth from its body. So connected. Then the 2 brothers created humans, us, to inhabit this new earth, and with that there was life. Except that life was not able to thrive without a sun to lend its warmth, and so one of the brothers, Huītzilōpōchtli, turned himself into the first sun, and with that the first world was complete. New life was born daily, along with new gods that made up all the elements, water, air, you know how it goes, the Avatar intro basically. Both mortals and immortals coexisted in harmony, and all in all, this world was a beautiful place. Huītzilōpōchtli and Quetzalcoatl created something amazing together, and you know, when you have an incredible relationship and build something good together, and somehow you work hard just to find something to be upset about and ruin it. No? Just me giving you a glimpse into my private life? Well, Quetzalcoatl was that guy, and he got so jealous that his brother was a son and not him that he decided the appropriate action was to knock his brother out of the sky with a giant club, knock him down onto earth and straight into his villain arc, because without Huītzilōpōchtli as the sun, the earth suffered eternal darkness, and Huītzilōpōchtli was so shook by this betrayal that he embraced that darkness and transformed into a giant jaguar that devoured all the humans that he and his traitor brother created together. And thus ended the first world, the first cycle. After Quetzalcoatl got rid of his brother, who just selfishly declared himself the sun, Quetzalcoatl selfishly declared himself the new sun and started the second world, the second cycle. But Huītzilōpōchtli wasn't down with his traitor brother getting to live happily ever after. The betrayal had Huītzilōpōchtli deep in his villain fields, and at this point he was like,
I want no one else to succeed.
So Huītzilōpōchtli turned all the humans on the second world into monkeys, which made the new sun Quetzalcoatl sad, because he loved humanity, so much in fact that he immediately retired from being the sun to go and create new humans, leaving the world to perish once again, and thus ended cycle number 2. So now we obviously enter. This time the god of rain, Tlaloc, stepped up to lead the third cycle and take on the additional burden of being the sun shining upon the third world. And Tlaloc ruled over the newly created humans until this all happened way too fast for Huītzilōpōchtli's liking, because he was still like,
I hate most people.
So he seduced and boned Tlaloc's wife, which absolutely devastated Tlaloc. And the sun god, who also wielded the power of rain, was so sad that he no longer made it rain, which meant that the world now suffered a terrible drought. Humanity prayed and prayed to Tlaloc to bring back the rain and preserve life, but the grieving cuckolded husband could only weep fire in anger and turned the world into ashes. And out of those ashes, the birds were born, but humanity was dead once again. So now another water deity stepped up to be the new sun and bring life to a fourth world. This time it was Huītzilōpōchtli, and she now ruled over a world inhabited by monkeys and birds, and over time new humans were created that completed this fourth cycle. But villain of every week, Tezcatlipoca, was still about that life, so he told everyone that this new sun goddess, Huītzilōpōchtli, only pretends to be kind to the world and humanity, and that she is actually selfish and evil, and he also told her,
"And when my eyes are closed, I see you for what you truly are, which is ugly."
And somehow that was all it took to take the goddess Huītzilōpōchtli down. She could not cope with the slander and the hatred humanity now felt for her, so the water goddess started crying uncontrollably, and her tears flooded the world, and everybody drowned and turned into fish, which ended the fourth cycle. Yeah, I know. These cycles just get worse and worse. High five, ladies. Ladies, if you can relate. I feel like that joke was out of pocket. But as I know you suffer, I feel like in this day and age, everybody, we're all equality. Humanity fetishist Quetzalcoatl was once again super sad that the humans he loved and rebuilt were killed yet again. So this time he revived humanity by collecting the bones of the dead from the underworld and dipping them in his own blood to make them stronger than ever. While another brother of his stepped up to become the fifth son, Huītzilōpōchtli. Blessed with the wisdom of Quetzalcoatl's blood, humanity was now wiser than ever before, and this time around they made an effort to keep the sun strong, to keep the world alive, and in order to do that, the Aztecs made human sacrifices to Huītzilōpōchtli so he can feast on blood like Popeye does spinach. So yes, those Aztec human sacrifices you heard so much about, they actually make the sun god strong and help him fight off the darkness to keep our world from being devoured. That's what the Aztecs believed. That's why they sacrificed people by the thousands. Though why they had to rip people's heart out through their ribcage while still alive, I don't know. I think that was an unnecessary addition.
It was super necessary.
And Huītzilōpōchtli needed all the strength he could get, because he didn't just have to fight off the villainous Tezcatlipoca. No, he had someone entirely different to deal with, Huītzilōpōchtli. Huītzilōpōchtli was a goddess with 401 children, 400 boys, 1 girl. The boys are actually irrelevant. The only relevant child is Huītzilōpōchtli's one daughter, Coyolxauhqui. After 401 children, if there was any more proof needed for Huītzilōpōchtli's ridiculous fertility, how about this? She then got impregnated by a ball of feathers, because why not? And when her daughter found out that her mother was pregnant, yet again, she was super jealous, convinced that the new child would be favored, so she convinced her brothers to do what any sibling would do in that situation. They beheaded their mother. Then the beheaded mother did what any mother would do in that situation. She grew 2 snake heads out of the fresh wound, and then the god Huītzilōpōchtli just popped out of her open neck like, oh yeah! Now, if you're thinking, wait a minute, Brief, this doesn't add up. Huītzilō, what's his name, was one of the first beings born out of the non-binary dude, girl, them, whatever, who flicked and stroked his bean. You know, if you're thinking that in those exact words, you're right. These stories absolutely contradict each other. Welcome to mythology. So Huītzilō, what's his name, popped out of Quetzalcoatl's severed head to immediately avenge the mother he had a connection of about 1 second with, and killed all 401 of his siblings, and only then did Huītzilōpōchtli take on the role as the 5th sun god who now brings light to the world to this day.
To this day!
The only problem is that Huītzilōpōchtli had a good heart, so he dismembered his siblings after killing them and threw them in the sky so that they can live on. And so his 400 brothers and his 1 sister became the stars and the moon, respectively. But this turned out to be a mistake, because Huītzilōpōchtli's siblings were out for revenge. kind of understandably. And ever since, every day, Huītzilōpōchtli, the sun, is chased by the moon and the stars, his sister and brothers who are trying to kill and consume him and bring on eternal darkness to end our world. And because fighting 401 siblings is tough, Huītzilōpōchtli needs a lot of blood from human sacrifices, and their hearts being torn out through rib cages, thanks to which we still live in this fifth world. So on that note, let's talk about those Aztec warriors that selflessly sacrifice other people by ripping their hearts out. Note that we're switching over from mythology to history now. I told you the Aztecs believe, now we talk about what the Aztecs actually did to keep our world alive by following these beliefs. And what these Aztecs did was slap everybody around like a pimp, like... Seriously, the Aztecs were all about kicking ass and taking blood in the name of the sun god Huītzilōpōchtli, and they were so gangster about it that they, get this, supposedly never stepped backwards in battle. You get me? Badasses. So when you were fighting Aztecs, you had this army coming at you relentlessly, and they're all dressed up like jaguars, like literally wearing jaguar skin and real jaguar heads, and they're wielding these massive 42-inch clubs which were lined with obsidian blades. And according to surviving reports of the Spanish invaders who fought them, these Aztecs could cut a horse's head clean off with these weapons. Again, badasses. For if it weren't for the Europeans' armor and the guns and mostly their filthy diseases, they would have gotten slaughtered by the Aztecs, just like everybody else did before them, because the Aztecs in their prime?
Forget about it.
So the Aztecs were feared by all neighboring civilizations and were constantly at war because they constantly needed captives for their sun god, which meant that the Aztecs, they weren't even fighting to kill. Nah, man, they turned war into a game of who can capture the most opponents, like Pokemon, so that these opponents could then witness their friends and family's hearts being ripped out through their rib cages as they're drained of all their blood. And that's what keeps our sun shining so that you can enjoy your summer. Thank you, Aztecs.